In a world where the pace of change is accelerating, the ability to innovate and adapt has never been more critical. But behind every breakthrough, every leap forward, there lies a common thread: the power of collaboration. Throughout history, we've seen amazing feats of collaboration, from the world building of the Roman Empire to the world flattening of the Manhattan Project, from the ingenuity of the Wright brothers to the beauty of the Volkswagen Beetle, from the audacity of putting a man on the moon to the sheer joy and experimentation of Lennon and McCartney. Collaboration is the act of working together to achieve a common goal. It's the fusion of ideas, the merging of talents, and the collective effort of people from very different walks of life, but all united in a shared vision. It's this vision that's led a number of businesses and academics at the Newcastle Helix site to collaborate to unlock their potential.
Cumulative cultural evolution, or cumulative culture, is the process by which information first spreads through a group and is shared by others and becomes a cultural variant, we call it, in that group, which is a specific pattern of behavior. But what we see is, at least in humans, that this will ratchet up in complexity over time.
The essence of collaboration is applied teamwork. It's teamwork on steroids. We are mindful, we are deliberate, we're driven by values towards a shared goal, and that's what makes it so effective.
What you think might take a week can take an afternoon. When you've got a happy team and nobody's worried about problems, actually are quite excited about problems because there's a creative solution just at the other side of it, then it's absolutely magic.
The price for successful collaboration is far bigger than non-collaboration because you cannot solve all the problems that you have. You need other people to be able to achieve those solutions.
The best projects and the best ideas occur when two specialties can interact and you use all the knowledge that's been gained from one supposedly, unrelated field and apply it to another because they just give you a different viewpoint.
Collaboration just makes good business sense. It allows people to show up in your work and be them true selves, bring their richness of experience and knowledge to the table in full confidence that it's going to be explored, enjoyed and used. It allows you to punch above your weight as a team to achieve more than you could on paper, and it allows you to get places more quickly and more effectively than you ever would do by yourself.
As humans, we almost seem to have this innate propensity to want to engage with others and to want to share information with other individuals. We actively teach each other. So collaboration is really feeding into sort of the two dual engines of cumulative culture in a very important way. I'm Bess Price, and I'm a lecturer in the School of Psychology here at Newcastle University. My research essentially focuses on cultural transmission processes, or how information is created and shared between individuals and spreads throughout groups. We often aren't even aware of how much that we're collaborating on a daily basis. So every basic interaction we have throughout the day, even just getting on the bus, is a collaborative effort. Between yourself, between the people who made the bus, between the bus driver. All of this is engaging together towards our different goals, but also working together so that we can all achieve these goals, which in that sense is a shared goal as well. So we're very collaborative as a species, I'd say. So other animals do cooperate, they do collaborate, and we can study this in the lab, we can study it in the wild, but we don't seem to see this kind of intensity, this absolute willingness and desire to engage collaboratively that we have in humans across all sorts of different contexts as well, and from quite a young age developmentally.
I'm David Langton. I'm the founder of the company ExPlant Lab. ExPlant Lab is the only national independent retrieval laboratory in the world to analyse failed implants. Also, what we do is we're the only people in the world who develop genetic tests so that they can help surgeons select the best implants for the right people.
My name is Raghu Sirginmale. I'm the trauma and orthopedic consultant. I work at Northeast and Hartlepool NHS Trust. The research we're trying to do through the collaboration is much bigger than us. It's not about just one hospital. It's about patient care.
My name's Helen Crampin and I currently work for the National Innovation Centre for Ageing. It's all about ageing in a more healthy way and have longer, healthier lives, not just longer lives. So we help businesses to find the right way to do that by giving them the insights they need to develop their product or service. Voice is our not-for-profit organisation and it's a global membership of older adults who give their real-time, everyday insights into whatever question we ask them. When you listen to those stories, it's actually very, very impactful. And they have all those life experiences and they have all of those insights. It's a really, really interesting thing to have. The plan for Voice is to have a Voice chapter in every country. There is a commercial opportunity here as well. As the population globally is getting older, those people will have more disposable income. So they will want to spend that money on really, really good products and services that have been designed for those people.
My name is Shola. I'm CEO and founder of Hexis Lab. We have a testing system that allows us to assess the benefit of ingredients in different skin phenotypes. We're pioneers in this industry, but what drives this is social justice. Developing product that is genuinely inclusive and to think there is a solution for everybody.
I'm Professor Bernard Golding, had a 40-year-long career at Newcastle University. I'm now an emeritus professor. During my time at Newcastle, I was lucky enough to be involved in the discovery of the anti-cancer drug rucaparib, which is now used widely for treating ovarian cancer. Discovering new anti-cancer drugs connects, into the cosmetics field, I think. Producing safe products is very important.
I'm Di Gates, I'm the founder of Connection Heroes. Connection Heroes is a development programme and we work with organisations that want to build a culture of connection. Now we do this with their teams by helping them go through a programme that helps them develop the mindset to build better connections across their teammates, but also to spot where human connection breaks down and empower them to be able to do something about it. I really want to help organisations unlock the potential of their people and the power that they can achieve if we get people working together incredibly well. In developing Connection Heroes, we created a framework that has 7 characteristics that we like to call our Connection Hero superpowers. Now, these superpowers are developed through the programme and they enable and empower the individuals on the programme to really understand what human connection is all about, to understand the neuroscience of human connection and what they can do in the workplace to activate this and to fix it when it starts to break. And by practicing these superpowers, the individuals are able to build connections and a basis for collaboration through being flexible, through practicing gratitude, through being radically responsible and very inclusive in their mindset. Together, these 7 characteristics really do empower human connection and thereby empower collaboration.
I'm Bev Fox and I am founder of a charity called Boho Arts that incorporates a programme of work that we do called School of Improv. So we specialise in improvisation. We use it very much around health and wellbeing, but also we work it with different businesses. We've worked in all sorts of different sectors. Often people will come to us, we've got a bit of a problem and we need to find a way to fix it and we need to collaborate from the grassroots team up to the CEOs at the top. We need to talk to each other, we need to communicate with each other. So we don't teach people how to be funny, we teach people how to live in the moment, give them tools that allow them to adapt to change, to see every problem as an opportunity for creativity, for instance. So it really helps with resilience and it really helps to bring people together because it is a collaborative art form and it's a collaborative skill set. You're not working on your own in improv, you're working together.
For a typical knee replacement surgery, the surgeon has to remove the damaged parts of the native joint, so the damaged cartilage and bone. And then a metal tray is put into the shin bone, so that will be inserted that way and fixed with cement. Then a plastic liner goes into that tray, and then there is a metal femur that then moves on it like that. Now, what we found with this particular device, which was implanted in around 10,000 people, is that the insert here becomes unstable, and that debris can act as an allergic stimulus to the body. So the patient's immune system over time kicks in and attacks the tissues around the prosthetic joint. It's just the same as if you had a liver transplant. You ideally want as close a match for the donor as the recipient as possible to reduce that immune process. That's the same process of what we develop here at ExPlant Lab. We try to match patients' genetics to the implant material, so if debris is shed from the implant, the patient doesn't react as aggressively and the implant can stay in place for a longer time.
Why this collaboration is working, or more likely to work and succeed, is because we've got similar interests. We both are very, very passionate about what we're looking at and why we are doing things. And this is this passion that drives us to try and achieve what we want to achieve.
It's that diversity of knowledge that allows us to come out with new products and new ideas.
These machines are amazing. It measures the amount of material removed from a specific implant. That helps us how much amount has been gone in patient body over the duration of that implant. From that, we will know the performance of the implant, whether it's doing well or not. We can feed back to the surgeons so that they can get like an informed decision on these particular implants.
Particularly in younger patients, we still have a significant number of these joint replacements that require a redo surgery. Redo surgeries, patients don't do nearly as well. The chances of infection, bleeding, and actually death increase quite dramatically. ExPlant Lab wanted to fill that void and provide a service to the NHS where surgeons who may have encountered problems could have a place to have their implants analysed independently. I really believe that what we do here is unique and really important in terms of improving patients' healthcare across the world.
One of the products that we've created is the Lily & K, which is a shampoo and conditioner for type 3, type 4 textured hair. Hair types are categorized into 4 categories, from straight blonde European hair, which is called a type 1, to an African hair, which is tight and coily, which is type 4. These different hair types have different requirements, and different chemistry are involved in formation of these different types of hair. My daughter is a UK national swimmer, so the complication of having a textured hair combined with spending so much time in salt water or chlorine water damages the hair. We spend a number of years trying to look for what is the best solution for her hair care. The challenges for that is to find a way of strengthening the hair, developing solutions that will enable the hair to last longer, to have a better texture, to have a better feel. For people that are affected, is a big thing for them. It affects their mental health, it affects the way they feel about themselves. To be able to have a solution that addresses that particular need is important, and that is why we're working on this solution.
I've never stood still in science. I always try and reinvent myself, find new areas where I can make a contribution. Unfortunately, from the collaboration with Solar, that's been possible. I found Solar to be a very interesting scientist. Like me, I think he's got very broad scientific interests. Because we both like solving problems, we found some joint problems of interest to solve.
We're based at the biosphere at Newcastle Helix, and this is our lab, and this is where we do the discovery, we do the testing and validation of ingredients that we want to use in different applications, and we pass it on to Bernard, which is based on the next floor down, on the 3rd floor, where they worked on the chemistry.
Our education and expertise they're complementary. One of us can plug gaps in the other's knowledge. The whole is much better than the individual parts.
It might be useful to think that there's 2 parts to collaboration. First of all, you've got to make sure that you're building the right thing. Then you've got to make sure that you build the thing right, which means that you really do have to make sure you spend long enough in the problem space, explore it, understand it fully, and define exactly the problem that you want to solve. Then move on to the solution space where you're then trying to build the thing right.
One of the forms of innovation that's so critical is this ability to combine information from different sources. So what we see is that In experiments where we're trying to figure out how this might develop in young children, we'll give them either the same individual doing different things or different individuals doing different things, or the same individual doing one thing or different individuals doing the same thing. This sort of innovation via combination or a recombination, it's sometimes called. It's called many different things, but basically, essentially, this taking information from here that exists, combining that together in a novel way, that seems to be absolutely fundamental to the development of cumulative culture. So these kinds of modifications that are coming about that are really driving things exponentially forward seem to be that kind of innovation.
Loads of innovation can come through getting things wrong and making mistakes, but we're terrified of making mistakes. We're very worried about being embarrassed or humiliated anyway by saying the wrong thing. So, you know, if you're in that team meeting with your people and the quiet person sitting there, they might have the best idea, but they're afraid to say it and that people might knock them down. Allow those ideas to come out. Allow all of those ideas to come out. Allow yourself to dream.
There are difficulties when you talk about collaboration. All collaboration isn't the same. You have to try your best to understand what motivates individuals and see how that can potentially work with your organisation or yourself, and try and recognise that early so that you don't end up going down a path where it's not productive and it's not fun.
When people are coming together from different organisations, I think sometimes it can be tricky because they're coming with different agendas. And I think trying to find out what they are is really important, trying to understand, empathise with their point of view. So you're coming in with this reason, they're coming with that reason. Can you make those two reasons work together?
Arguably where collaboration's most challenging is when you get a group of really smart, experienced people and they're collaborating with other really smart, experienced people, especially when they might not know each other very well. Because in that context, it's very, very hard to put your hand up and say, I don't know. It's very, very hard to just admit areas that are not your expertise, and that's very problematic because showing vulnerability is a really key part of establishing psychological safety. Without that psychological safety and trust and people being able to expose, be open, be very honest and take risks, no collaboration can venture very far.
It's about agendas and understanding what each person actually wants from it and being very clear about it. I've worked in some organisations where internal collaborations are not great, and normally that's because people are worried about their positions and they're very protective of their roles and very protective of the information that they hold. You cannot work like that. Those organisations will fail. All the culture will become so toxic that people won't want to work in them.
What I found in the last few years working with organisations is there is very definitely a connection crisis within the workplace. People are disconnecting from their colleagues and their places of work at quite an alarming rate. Now, businesses can measure this in terms of their engagement, productivity, attrition rates, and employees can feel it in terms of their health and well-being. I believe we can fix this disconnection in the workplace by really helping people develop the mindset, the skill set, and the tool set to understand human connection. Understand that human connection is really important for us as people, but it's also really important for businesses. As human connection starts to erode, the ability to trust each other, to be vulnerable with each other, to communicate with each other really effectively, that gets harder and harder. And if you're trying to do that in a remote first or a hybrid workplace, that's even more challenging. So if you can start to fix and improve human connections across the workplace, you'll see the benefit on the bottom line in terms of engagement, productivity, and attrition, but you'll also see a change in the way people work together. When people connect, when they're united behind a vision and a set of values, they are capable of achieving so much more than they would as individuals. You get an exponential return on any investment that you make in trying to get your team better connected.
Building trust in collaboration is quite easy. It's just being open, transparent and honest, and always saying what you mean. This is what we want to do. And sometimes it's uncomfortable if you don't agree, but usually if you do it and say it in the right way, it's taken in the way it's meant, and you can build from there. So you've made a really good relationship. You have to nurture it. It's really, really important. As soon as you stop nurturing that, that's it. It falls off a cliff, and then you have to work really hard to get them back again.
I think information transfer is, a fundamental aspect of collaboration. So In a collaborative unit, you have to have that shared goal, and you have to be working towards that. You can't just all be sitting there thinking your own thoughts and not, sharing them and not communicating them. So you have to be putting them out into the group. You have to be attempting to share that information with others, and then others can pick up on that information, combine it with information that they have, then they generate something new, and then that can be picked up, combined with information they have, and generate something new. So this is very much an interactive, communicative process.
To have a good trust, to have a good communication channel, and to have a shared vision and shared values. That is what makes it exciting.
Communication is everything with collaboration. You want to get your idea across and you want to understand what other people are saying. So you need to be a good communicator, and that in itself can be tricky for some people, but it's a two-way street. It starts with listening. It really starts with listening, so do less talking and do more listening.
Increasingly, organisations are having to pay a great deal of attention to their culture. That's both making sure they can attract and retain the very best sort of people. And when I talk about culture, I tend to talk about culture being the weather, not the weather forecast. It's about what people really feel, what people's genuine experiences of working with and for your organisation. Now, if you have a culture of collaboration and you encourage it and practice and reward it, that's demonstrating a lot of values that are quite hard to demonstrate in other ways. You're valuing that you really encourage people to explore ideas, develop new ways of doing things. You're proving that you value controlled risk-taking. You're proving that you really do want people to work together and do things that they might not be able to do just by themselves. And that's going to attract and retain some really quite smart people.
I think a good collaborator is someone who is willing to share ideas at a basic level, someone who is generative, so they're coming up with new things, someone who can see, similarities and patterns in what other people are seeing. Sometimes it just is beneficial to have someone who's listening to others talk and saying, that's very similar to what this idea over there, and why don't we try to put those together, and then maybe we can slot this in as well. So again, it's a lot of things, but I think it's this willingness to engage. It's this willingness to share information, to pool information, and importantly, to share goals as well.
When we first met Shola, he talked about how he's come into this industry and some of his motivation is around creating products for his daughter. And I think that was so well linked to what we've done as well. My mum's created a lot of products for us that just weren't on the market. So I think we could really relate to each other on that and understand how we both got to that space. When Shola brings that scientific element, we will translate that into the market and into the industry. Every time there's a meeting, I'll have a new idea, or we have something that we can go, right, okay, we need to get started. There's a new project every time we talk.
We're trying to find these little effective solutions as you're going along, those little small steps, jumping over those hurdles to develop as you're going. So you're accepting and you're building all the way along with your team, and you need to listen to that team to make that work.
You've got to work towards the strength of that person in your collaborative team. It's like a cricket team, I would give the analogy of it. You've got 11 players, aim is to win the World Cup. You have like a specialist batters, then there are bowlers, there's a wicket keeper. Similarly, we have a team of surgeons, there's a biochemist, there's AI, data scientist, and we're bioengineer working together to develop this genetic test. And we want to make the first surgery spot on so that they can have their quality of life back.
Collaboration does really benefit creativity, obviously, because you have, if you're working together towards a shared goal, you have access to these different minds, essentially, who are willing to share this information with you. And we know that, from the research with young kids, that when they are exposed to these sorts of different approaches to things, that they are more likely to try to explore things themselves and to come up with these new solutions. So that seems to be something that should work as well in a collaborative environment, where this kind of creativity or bringing in lots of different ideas will fuel that collaboration, and vice versa as well.
If we look at collaboration in the context of the challenges that we face, sounds very grandiose, but as a human race, these problems are seismic, but they're common. We are all suffering from the impact of global changes at a rate that is really quite terrifying. And the only way we're going to solve some of these problems is through collaboration.
Increasingly today, I think it's absolutely clear that to solve many of the problems, particularly those that impact on the human population, you've got to find a way to work with collaborators in a mutually productive way.
You need other people to be able to achieve those solutions.
Technology is really likely to be shifting the way that we collaborate as humans. And I think we're still figuring this out. Obviously, we have amazing opportunity to collaborate with individuals that we are very spatially distant from, which is relatively new still for us. And I think there's obvious benefits to this in that we have just vast access to all this information. I think also it's quite important to think about what machines are doing. So we have AI now, we have machines collaborating with machines, we have robotics, we have collective intelligence in robotics, which is fascinating.
I think the future of collaboration depends on being open and being transparent and talking and trying to break down the siloed way we have of working. We can change things slowly on our own, or we can change things a lot faster if we all do it together.
As we've journeyed through the Newcastle Helix site into the realms of medical research, technological innovation, elder care initiatives, and even comedy improv, one truth stands out. Collaboration is the lifeblood of progress. But as we look to the future, let us remember that collaboration isn't just about developing a product or a service. It's about building connections, nurturing trust, and creating a world where innovation thrives. Collaboration is the mother of innovation.